Well, thank you so much for joining us. This is part of the Chamber's Lunch and Learn series, which we hold throughout the year, which is a way to bring businesses with expertise to the members that need them free of charge. Yay! Zoom makes it much more handy. I would like to introduce Anne Martin. Anne is a speaker. She's a reinvention strategist and a certified professional performance coach with a mission of empowering people to achieve meaningful success. She practiced law for 15 years and then she reinvented herself as an award winning sales leader for a leading international consumer products company where she coached women in entrepreneurship, professional development, and leadership, which we could all use. In 2011, she reinvented herself as a coach and speaker in her new business, Daring Reinventors, which teaches people how to reinvent themselves and thrive while navigating career and life transitions. She offers reinvention workshops and has presented to corporate and professional audiences on topics such as breaking your confidence barrier, thriving through transition, and the 6 secrets of a sustainable reinvention. So she is the perfect person to talk to us today about how to make 2020 our best possible year off of the previous year. So, with that, I would like to hand it over to Anne.
Thank you so much, Kristlyn, and welcome. I've been in business for 20 years, left the legal profession in the 90s, went into the direct selling industry, Mary Kay Cosmetics, going from law to lipstick, reinvented myself when we moved out here in '07. And my husband was involved in a startup, this really great heated jacket startup down in San Francisco, really exciting. Everything was going great. I reinvented myself as a coach, got the coach certifications, was training with speaker certifications. And then the recession of '09 hit and everything went south. The small business that he had been running basically had problems with their consumer product, had an investigation from the Consumer Product Safety Commission. The investors wouldn't put in more money and they were basically insolvent. And he put in a lot of our own money and we were facing insolvency as well. And so I know where you're coming from. I understand that, and I'll share a little bit later on how we were able to reinvent out of that. I mean, I totally get it that we're all exhausted from this last year. It's been a rather extraordinary time for all of us. And I guess we can put on the first slide now, Kristlyn. Basically, it's kind of like we're riding a wave. We're riding a wave, and I got this great Maverick slide from that great Mavericks photographer. We're riding a wave of change. We're riding a wave of innovation. And what I'm hoping today is to give you a couple of keys to move through this evolving transition successfully and give you a couple of ideas on how to reinvent your businesses to be more viable, to serve more clients, and hopefully we'll spark something today that will lead you to explore some new things. So let's talk about the 3 stages of transition, because in order to talk about transition, we need to understand it. And basically, there are 3: ending, losing, and letting go. All of us are painfully familiar with what happened in the last year. There was an ending to a cycle of business expansion. Then we had the racial anguish of this summer. We had some unprecedented political things going on that undermined our focus. So that was that. 2021 ushered in the second stage, the neutral zone. And in the words of transition experts, the neutral zone is the in between phase of transition. It's the time where we're trying to figure out how are these changes going to affect us and how do we best adapt to them. And what's the new normal going to look like? It's starting to emerge, but we're still not sure, right? And then the third phase of transition are the new beginnings, when people start seeing the results of the change. As we build herd immunity, as businesses begin reopening and lockdowns pull back, we're going to see this new normal emerge. But today I want to focus on the neutral zone, this middle in between stage of transition, where basically all of us as business owners are sitting in the fog. And I love this quote from transition consultant Susan Bridges. The essence of life takes place in the neutral zone of transition. Um, this creative period gives us space to consider all kinds of possibilities. And I've actually said in some of my blogs that this extraordinary pandemic has actually led us to consider some rather extraordinary options for our businesses that ordinarily we would might not have even considered. And when you think about that recession of '09, '10 that I talked about painfully a little bit earlier, that was a similar period of creativity. I don't know if you know that. I'm sure you both know this, but that's when Square, Uber, Pinterest, Instagram, Airbnb all got started. And we were living in San Francisco at that time. And I could literally feel that reinvention, creative energy crackling all around me. And we caught it. My husband reinvented the startup. He reduced the space by 50%. They had to let some staff go. He added some new board members, and they pivoted to a completely new product involving a green hydrogen fuel cell to power mobile units. And that effort is still going on today. And I even transformed my coaching practice. I had been formerly coaching women business owners on how to live their vision of their ideal business. I pivoted to reinvention because I realized that was the skill that was needed in this world. And never has this been needed never has this been needed more than these days. I know the pandemic is different from the '09 and '11 recession, but we still share that amazing period of innovation. And I'm sure you've heard business leaders talk about this, about we've implemented 10 years of innovation in the last 10 months. Think about it. I don't know about you. I feel like I've lived 10 years in the last 10 months with everything that's been going on. And even those of us that are small, one, two, three, four-person businesses, this is our time to channel the creative energy in the air right now to make over your business so you're well positioned as we emerge into the new normal. So I hope I've made the case for reinvention. And now I'd like to talk about the three keys to reinvention. Okay. I use the acronym C as an easy way to remember it. Shift your thinking about change, expand and explore new possibilities, and adapt and act boldly. I know change is hard. As human beings, most of us love stability and comfort. But think about it, we live by the sea. If we take a lesson from nature, the chaos of change, transition is necessary for us as individuals or businesses to create anything new. And the next slide is going to show that so well. It's a quote by organizational expert Margaret Wheatley. And she basically has stated that an organization or business that attempts to struggle against change, seeing it as a source of disruption in an effort to remain stable and balanced, is on a path to stagnation and eventual death. The optimum state for living systems. And businesses that want to thrive isn't stability, but a state of openness to new information that keeps it open to adapting to the environment. Think about your business. Have you gotten kind of complacent, happy with the way things were, not wanting to rock the boat? Had you been resisting change and hanging on to the way things used to be, wishing and hoping and praying that things would get back to the way they were before COVID? Or are you studying the trends, connecting with others, learning new things, and looking for new opportunities? I've got news. A lot of things are not going to go back to the way they were before COVID. New consumer habits have been formed, new infrastructure has been put in place, and during this year, we're going to see even more change emerge as we adapt to the post pandemic new normal. Let's talk a little bit about how to view these changes. There's basically two ways to view change: from a D mindset, which sees change as dangerous and bad and scary. People with this mindset tend to see themselves kind of as victims. So they tend to huddle, lock down, focus on trying to survive, and wait it out till everything returns to normal. And because they've gone into a protective cocoon, they're less open to seeing opportunities that may be hidden in the change. There's another way to view change, seeing it as hiding opportunity. O types are less likely to feel out of control when confronted with change. They tend to be optimists, and they view change as opening up new opportunities. As a result, they are open to exploring new possibilities, and this unleashes their creative energy, and they find it easier to take bold action and adapt to the new business environment. How about you? Do you identify more with the D, who sees the danger in change and wants to return to the world BC? Or do you see yourself as more of an O, who views change as opening up opportunity? Or maybe you're more of a DO. Most people fall on the spectrum between a D type and an O type. As we move into this year of transition, it's going to be more important than ever to shift to that O, that opportunity mindset. Let me share a few strategies. First, become aware of how you handle new situations. And this is about monitoring our self-talk. What do you say to yourself when you encounter an unfamiliar situation? Do you start whining? Oh, here we go again. This always happens to me. Or do you become more proactive? What can I do to make this better? Second, think of a particular challenge you're facing and identify specific ways in which this challenge could present opportunities. I have a real world story here. This is the story of a family jewelry store in Crown Point, Indiana. Their name is Moriarty Gem Art. And the lockdown was a big challenge to their jewelry store. They actually saw an opportunity in the lockdown because, see, for years they had been talking about creating a live stream show on YouTube that would highlight the different stones in their inventory and show a jeweler cutting the gems and talking about his travels to exotic places around the world to find the gems. They realized that the time they had in the lockdown gave them a chance to create and produce this show. And so they started doing that. They advertised it through their website, email to customers, and social media. They sold gems online during and after the show, and they stayed connected with their customers by providing them the fascinating backstory behind their beautiful jewelry. So there's an example of a creative way to overcome a challenge. Next, I have a little exercise. Practice turning negatives into positives. And that would be the next slide. It's an exercise, and this would be something you would do at home. Think of a change you're currently facing. Divide a sheet in half and list all the negatives associated with it on one side. And I know we all can think of a lot of them. But then I challenge you to go back, review each negative, and ask yourself, how can I turn this into a positive? And the way you do that is you ask yourself a couple of questions. What new possibilities does this change open up for me? How can I use this situation to grow personally or professionally? Is this a wake up call for my business? For me personally, in my coaching and speaking business, the pandemic was a huge wake up call because once I wasn't able to go over the hill and network, I wasn't meeting new people. So my business started to evaporate. My wake up call was I had not grown a very big online presence. So I didn't have a lot of online visibility. People didn't know what I had to offer. But this is so interesting. I had always had this backstage idea that I wanted to create a strong online presence as a thought leader around reinvention, but I never got around to it. And suddenly, with the pandemic, someday became now. I signed up for a social media course, got active on Facebook again, and I'm also in the process of redesigning my website and freshening my brand. Now, next slide. I'd like to ask each of you, what is your backstage idea? Is there an idea that you've been tossing around for a couple of years about your business, but you dismissed as too unrealistic or crazy or impractical? Or maybe it's something you've told yourself you would do, but you kept putting off to someday, someday, someday. I'd like to invite you. Consider this your invitation to bring that backstage idea onto the main stage of your business and start exploring it. Or accelerate a change that you were going to make in a few years to today. As I like to say to my clients, your someday is now. So, can you see that when you shift from viewing change as a threat, you become more likely to recognize emerging opportunities and you become more creative and open to exploring new possibilities for business and life? And that brings me to the second key around reinvention: explore and expand. And that brings us to the next slide. This is about developing new ways to communicate with your customers. And the first is expand your thinking by becoming a possibility thinker. What's a possibility thinker? It's somebody who shakes free of their usual thinking patterns and asks, what's possible now? What might be possible now that wasn't possible before? A couple of ways to do this. Get curious. Instead of approaching an issue as an either or issue, rephrase it as a more open ended question. What problem am I trying to solve? How could this be changed? Another real world example: a man by the name of Jim Leally, who owns a car repair and transmission shop in San Jose. He had 7 employees, and when the lockdowns hit, he found himself facing a very inconsistent revenue stream. He would have 20 cars in his shop one day, and then 3 days would go by when he'd have no business at all. Well, this is tough when you're trying to keep 7 employees paid. So he faced a painful choice of either laying off some employees to reduce costs or shutting down his business. But then He stopped seeing it as an either or proposition and drilled down to what the real problem is here. What's the real problem? How can I keep my mechanics working? And realized there could be another path. And for him, it was collaborating with other auto shops who were also facing dramatic fluctuations in their business. So on slow days, he would loan them his mechanics to work in their shops when they were busy. And then when his shop was busy, he would bring over some of their mechanics to work. And this way, he was able to keep all his people employed. This is a perfect example of outside the box thinking. Second way to possibility think, brainstorming. When faced with a change, don't immediately assume that the first answer you arrive at is the best or only one. Open up by practicing brainstorming and ask good questions. The key to a good brainstorm is asking the right question. And they usually begin with words like, what if? How can? I wonder if we can. I wonder what? Why not? Example, a hair salon. They've been really hit badly by the pandemic, forced to close during the lockdown because they provide personal services. So the question became, how can we generate revenue without offering in-person styling and coloring services? Well, what they came up with in their brainstorm is they could sell customized home coloring kits, virtual consultations on how to color your hair at home, virtual consultations on styling, as well as selling hair products. Customers would pick up their products, have a curbside delivery, and at least they were able to generate some revenue during the lockdown. Third, reimagine and repurpose. Reimagine different uses for an asset you have and adapt it to be used in a completely new and different way. How can you repurpose existing space, skills, assets to meet an emerging need? Think of Sweet Farm in Pescadero. Some of you are familiar with it. Kristlyn told me about them. They're a nonprofit animal sanctuary. And since they're no longer able to hold events and offsites that help them bring in funding, they developed this brilliant idea: goat to meeting and goat to party, which allows people to schedule a virtual farm animal visit or farm tour for their corporate meeting or a party. It's a fun, innovative way to liven up a meeting, and it brings in much needed revenue. Think about what assets you can repurpose. Next slide, please. Next, expand your network. Start meeting and connecting with people from a wide range of businesses, not the same narrow group. Find out what they're doing, how they're thinking, what the challenges are. You may wind up borrowing an idea from a completely different business and use it to create a new product or service. Or maybe it would open the door to a collaboration. What are businesses similar to yours doing to serve customers? What businesses can you partner with to offer your products or services at their locations or their products at your location? Kay De Palma was a candle maker who used to sell scented candles at craft shows. When they closed down, she started partnering with shop owners to get her products included in gift boxes with spa owners interested in having her create custom candles that used essential oils featured with their spas. Charlotte Walker, a chocolate maker, used to sell at craft shows. She started wholesaling her chocolate, partnering up with a few chocolate shops, as well as a coffee shop and specialty food market. Different marketing channels. Next slide. Expand your thinking, expand your network, expand your communications. Have you built relationships with your customers? Do you have a mailing list? A customer contact system? Are you updating your customers regularly on what you're offering? New ways maybe you can serve them. I'm on the Pasta Moon mailing list, and I'm on some of your mailing lists, and I really enjoy getting the emails updating me on what's going on. I've been buying gift certificates from Pasta Moon Cafe Society to give as gifts and also to use myself to help keep these wonderful businesses going. If you're not keeping in touch with your customers on a regular basis, they're going to forget about you. You know the old saying, out of sight, out of mind. This is the time to start communicating and start building your list. And what about your website? Have you updated it recently? Does it show what you're offering during the lockdown? Does it offer new products and services? I'm in the process of refreshing my website. Again, it was one of those someday projects that I decided to do now. The next slide is going to talk about exploring new ways to serve your customers. Meet your customers where they are. Find out what they need. For example, a catering business that saw its business evaporate when individuals and businesses canceled events and parties. She pivoted and realized people still need food, they just need it for a different purpose. This caterer's customers, actually, many of them were working parents who were trying to homeschool their kids and didn't have a lot of free time. They needed home cooked meals that they could pick up or deliver. And so she pivoted to offering home cooked dinners that could be picked up or delivered to these dual income couples. How can you make your customers feel special in a way that sets you apart? Is there some kind of concierge service, a virtual personal shopping appointment you can offer? Or maybe you could offer a local special. Some restaurants offer a discount to locals on certain days of the week. Why not consider offering special discounts to locals on a certain day? And don't forget birthday discounts. People love them. When I had a consumer product business, my customer would get a birthday card during her birthday month, reminding her of her 15% birthday discount, and my customers would stock up. Part of exploring is test driving an idea. So, if you have an idea for a new product or service or way of delivering, maybe you want to select a certain number of customers and test drive it with them. Ask them to be part of a focus group. Third key to reinvention: adapt and take action. In order to reinvent to our new normal, we have to be willing to push out of our comfort zone. And that requires letting go of what's no longer working, managing doubt and fear, and creating a plan for moving forward. The thing about getting in action is you no longer feel powerless at the whim of government bureaucrats or economic forces. You're taking charge of your future and your confidence grows. In fact, research has shown that the number one way to build confidence is to get in action. Moreover, I've always found, and I've coached people and entrepreneurs for over 20 years now, when you take action, it creates an energy around you that activates the law of attraction. It opens more doors to opportunities you might never have known about it. That fellow business owner you reconnect with may know of an opportunity for you to explore, or maybe even offer a collaboration. How do you take action? Next slide. There's three different ways that I want to suggest. First way is releasing, letting go. What do you have to let go of in order to make room for new ways of serving and engaging with your customers? Is it a product or service that's no longer a good fit? You might have been considering letting it go before the pandemic. Maybe it's time to let it go now. How about reducing office or shop space to save money and opening an online store, or streamlining the products and services you offer? refresh, introduce something new. Think about services and products your customers need right now and start offering it. It can be a new way to deliver a product or a completely new product or service. Example, local example, Jody Miller at Fit Fitness. As we know, fitness was one of the industries that was dramatically hit by the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, Jody faced a series of openings and closings with these lockdowns. She had a brand new fitness studio. She had just opened in Shoreline Station, but she couldn't use it that much. She had to figure out a way of delivering her personal training and classes to her clients. So she pivoted to offering live streamed virtual classes and live streamed personal training sessions. She knew her clients still needed her services. She just had to figure out a different way to get it to them. And I have to give her such credit. I get a newsletter from her every single week, updating me on the new classes, new services she's offering, her New Year reboot for clean eating. She's even offered to rent fitness equipment to her clients. She's an absolutely fabulous example of adapting. Next, reach out, communicate, and start engaging with your customers. If you have a mailing list, how about emailing everyone Happy New Year greetings? It's Chinese New Year. It's still the new year. I'm resetting New Year to Chinese New Year, by the way, because of the way our calendar year began. Happy New Year. And you might offer them something special, a special New Year's gift card where they can buy a $50 gift at a discount, or they can use it as a gift for themselves or for somebody else. Renew yourself. Is there a new skill you've always wanted to learn to enhance your communication or the services or products you offer? Maybe it's social media, creating email campaigns, doing podcasts, or how to do a Zoom class. Now is the time to renew yourself. Next slide. I know after this year of chaos and uncertainty, a lot of us are exhausted. So many people use that word when I speak with them, exhausted, drained. And you might be fearful of spending time or energy on something that might not work out. That's understandable. And I'd like to give you a couple of tips for reclaiming that confidence that you had when you first started your business. First, expand your comfort zone with baby steps. Identify one thing to grow your business. Maybe some of the things I mentioned that just sparked something in you. This might work. More customer engagement, a new product, a new service. Identify that one thing, break it down into baby steps, get in action, and evaluate what didn't work, what did work, what did I learn, how can I improve or adapt and do better next time. All of us are entrepreneurs, and we all know not to give up when something doesn't work the first time. We want to upgrade it and try it again. You'll find that as you accumulate those little wins, your comfort zone will expand and any fears or doubts will start to evaporate. And this empowers you to keep expanding to new projects until you wake up 6 months from now and marvel at how far you've come. And I want to challenge those of you who are listening. Think about what's one thing that you can do for your business that can move you forward this year. You know, in our fast moving lives, especially with what we're going through now, we tend to finish one project, then jump on to another without taking time to internalizing our successes. And as I've coached so many mid-career professionals, I've noticed that what that can lead to is a crisis of confidence. Well, for a lot of business owners, this pandemic has led to a crisis of confidence. And unfortunately, because of the way our brain works, Our brains are like Teflon for the wins and the good things, where they slide away, and like Velcro for the negative. They'll hang on and recall that negative memory. So, here are two great practices for learning how to internalize your successes and keeping them top of mind instead of focusing on what didn't work. First, achievement inventory. And I did this at about the April point in the pandemic as my business was sliding. I went back and I listed all the accomplishments in my business and personal life for the last 10 years, wins, milestones, community contributions, new skills learned. I was kind of amazed at how much I've accomplished. And every client I've done this with has found the same thing. It's a confidence booster. Next, celebration journal. Start a journal. And at the end of every day, or at least every week, track your wins, especially if you're going to venture into something new. In my case, it's social media. And frankly, it's a little scary for me. I'm not a digital native, but you know what? I've got the growth mindset. I can learn, and so can you. So celebrate yourself for the baby step. Offer gratitude that you're making progress. And the next slide talks about reclaiming the inner heroine or hero. Because after all we've been through this year, sometimes people are thinking about giving up, or maybe they're looking at some really hard decisions about their business, or they're debating about whether they should really put themselves out there, and they're anxious and they're fearful. You know that the source of most of our fears is that we don't think we have the inner resources to handle it. But you know you actually do. You just forgot about them in the chaos of this pandemic. So I want to share an exercise that's so powerful. Reclaim the inner hero. Think of a prior time in your life when you faced a challenge and showed up powerfully. It might have been standing up for yourself, advocating for yourself or someone else, or for a cause you believed in. Maybe it was taking a stand and opening your business or overcoming a significant business obstacle. Maybe it was stepping in as a leader in your profession or community, or when you faced an illness or a loss. How did you behave? Reflect. How did you do it? What kept you going? How did you talk to yourself? Review. What were the coping skills, strengths, personal practices, and support systems you used? Which of these have gotten lost? Which of these have you forgotten about? Know that you have these qualities inside you right now. Maybe it's time to reclaim them. So ask yourself, how can I use these strengths to handle today's challenges? Next slide. So I've shared with you 3 keys to reinventing your business in this age of transition: shifting your thinking, expanding your thinking, your network, your communications, and exploring new possibilities, and adapting and taking action, managing doubt and fear, pushing out of your comfort zone. Hopefully, I've gotten your creative juices flowing and you're thinking of some new, exciting ways to serve and connect with your customers. So, I'd like to invite those of you who are listening. Um, have you gotten any ideas from this? Did something spark as we were chatting, going through this, of an idea, something that you can move forward with, something you can try? I'd like to invite you in the chat. I have put my contact information if you would like to reach out. Would love to have you, if you like my copy of the slides, be happy to send them to you. Also, my website, I have a free report, 7 Secrets for Thriving Through Transition. You're welcome to download it, and that would put you on my mailing list. I'm doing a lot more blogging right now around reinvention, transition, and basically what we're living with. Also, I'm a big fan of building personal resiliency, and that's another program that I'm going to be offering. So I want to thank you for being with us today. I really appreciate